Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight, the Prime Minister hits back at critics over that $1 billion loan offer. Electricity bills set to increase by 15% come March. Plus, despite the law change, some motorists still afraid to turn left on red.
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis is firing back at critics who have slammed his administration over a nearly $1 billion loan offered to the government to assist with rebuilding efforts following Hurricane Dorian. Minnis scolded those who spoke out against the loan, charging that their silly, confused comments show how uninformed they really are. Jasmine Brown reports.
The Prime Minister was quick to defend his administration and the information that has been put out about the donor pledge, as he insisted there's simply no reason for any confusion.
I have noticed some confusion in the public sphere as to what a pledging conference is and what these commitments mean. Unfortunately, some who were not present at the event seem very confused and very poorly informed. Had they informed themselves, they would not have made silly, confused, and uninformed statements in the press.
Dr. Minnis made the comments while giving the keynote address at the 2020 Bahamas Business Outlook on Thursday. While he spent much of his address speaking about climate change and its impact on the Bahamas, he also addressed concerns centered on the $1.5 billion in donor pledges that the government received.
The donor conference was an open event and attended by hundreds of individuals, including domestic and international partners and potential partners. These pledges were made in the open, with the media also assembled. The conference demonstrated confidence in the Bahamas and confidence in the government of the Bahamas.
During a pledge conference held on Monday to raise funds for relief efforts following Hurricane Dorian, U.S.-based the P3 Group, Inc. pledged to make roughly $975 million available to government as a loan that would be repaid with interest. In a press release issued after the conference, the Office of the Prime Minister did not indicate that the lion's share of those pledges represented loans. PLP leader Philip Brave Davis called the conference a PR stunt, while Chief Financial Officer of Fidelity Bank and Trust Gowan Bowe said the government was being disingenuous when it referred to the loan as a pledge. Members of the public have also been critical.
Some who have an obligation to be more responsible are irresponsibly making up false narratives of what happened. Again, some seem not to understand what transpired or the nature of a donor conference. The international community has come forward in various offers and pledges, and it is up to the government of the Bahamas to carefully review these pledges and to decide what is best for the Bahamas.
Minnis said the Bahamas received pledges of financing, grants, technical assistance, intellectual assistance, humanitarian aid, and other forms of assistance, which include concessionary loans, equity grants, and guarantee financing. He said most of the aid pledged was not in the form of cash donations.
And let me emphasize that there were different types of funding pledged, and that potential loans are only one type of possible funding. We are being advised that the UNDP is in ongoing discussions with other potential pledges
The PM added all of the pledges will go into a trust specifically set up for this process. He added that the UNDP will oversee the design, establishment, and administration of the Bahamas Recovery and Reconstruction Fund. Reporting for our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Bahamas Power and Light Chairman Donovan Moxey revealed today that electricity bills will increase by 15% in March. This comes as the cash-strapped power company seeks to restructure a $300 million debt while investing in more efficient generation capacity.
The minute you table the legislation, questions are going to be asked. What's it going to cost? So without knowing or getting the ratings, we had to come up with estimates of what that cost is. That turned out to be 15%.
It's the first time the public has been given an actual percentage of how much their electricity bills are expected to go up by in March. The announcement was made during the BPL chairman's address to attendees of Bahamas Business Outlook and came as BPL works to tackle its $321 million legacy debt. Moxey broke it down, explaining how the 15% increase will work.
Well, it turns out that the average bill in the Bahamas for consumers is $180. What's 15% of $180? $27. That's where the $27 came from. And if you heard the minister talk about costs, he said $20 to $30. So that's the estimated cost. However, our plan, BPL, the board, is to make this cost neutral.
The House of Assembly passed the Electricity Rate Reduction Bond Bill 2019 in November and aims to establish a legislative framework for BPL to raise $650 million. When consumers see their electricity bills in March, there will be something called a National Utility Investment Bond, which is the name of the new fee. Moxey explained that this increase will be short-lived as a result of a reduction in fuel costs.
So given the plans that we have in place, and if everything falls in line with the rate reduction bond hitting your bills in March, by August of this year, by running high-efficiency engines at base load out of Clifton, that cost, that 15% now, becomes cost neutral to you.
Last summer was dubbed one of the worst in the company's history, with repeated load shedding nearly every day. BPL, according to Moxey, is in the process of making huge changes, particularly after bringing online a new 130-megawatt Wärtsilä plant. He pointed out the issues the company battles even when it comes to customer service.
Me personally as the chairman, sometimes I walk downstairs and I pay my own bill by joining the line to see what that feels like, to understand the customer's pain. Sometimes I call the number that we have and it just rings and rings and rings. We're owning that. We have to fix it. We will fix it. So we're going to build a state-of-the-art customer service center that's going to be open 24/7, 365, that humans are going to answer the phone.
As for the future of the state-owned power company, Moxey says negotiations are still underway with Shell North America for the construction of yet another plant and focus on renewable energy.
So we're doing the best job we can in negotiating this deal because guess what? When the ink is dry on the paper, it's a 20-year deal. I don't want to be the one who made a mistake negotiating a 20-year deal. So we're being very prudent, and we're using all the experts that we can to make sure that we do the best job we can. Will it be perfect? No.
Amid growing calls for answers on the P3 Group's loan offer to the Bahamas government, financial expert and DNA leader Orinthia Komalafe is questioning whether the billion-dollar loan could eventually mean more taxes for Bahamians. She spoke with Giorgio Bain.
As more information becomes public about the $1.5 billion pledge to assist the Bahamas in the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian, DNA leader Orinthia Komalafe is raising several questions, including could this mean more taxes on the backs of Bahamians?
Leader of the Democratic National Alliance, Orinthia Komalafe, says she was initially excited about the $1.5 billion pledge and found it commendable that the international community was so willing to assist. However, she says the excitement was short-lived when the revelation came that the lion's share of that pledge is actually the loan.
And I've heard Mr. Brown say that this is not going to be a credit to the government, meaning that this is not going to impact our national debt, so it's not going to be a direct charge. So we're not going to add another $1 billion to the debt, or we're not going to provide a contingent liability for $1 billion. But that raises even more questions for me, because then how are you going to raise the funds to be able to pay this $975 million back? Is it going to be through user fees? Is it going to be through increased taxes by the government?
The financial expert says her questions are not stemming from a place of ingratitude as suggested by the health minister, but rather the need for straight answers.
Why is the government taking this route as opposed to the traditional routes that we typically take if they are prepared to do it? understanding that this is just a pledge. You know, it's not like the government went and sought these persons out. It's an unsolicited proposal.
Komolafe also questioned if using the U.S.-based group would be more beneficial to the Bahamas than going to a bank or international agencies for funding.
We would want to know more details. What is the term of the loan? What is the cost of the loan? What are the factors in terms of transfer of assets, if there are going to be any transfer of assets? We heard Mr. Brown talk about the fact that he would provide, his company would provide concessionary rates. But from what I heard on his interview, he was speaking along the lines of 3%, 4%, which to me I still found to be very high.
Reporting for our News, I'm Georgia Bain.
In other news, Police Staff Association Chairman Sonny Miller says police have the right to use force when dealing with civilians. He also supported the Commissioner of Police who blamed parents for abusive police officers. Bethany McDermott reports.
Now, while Miller says the police force does not support officers in wrongdoing, he says they do have the right to use force, adding that they are well trained in doing so.
Of course, I can tell you, now you can say the amount of force, but almost in every situation, force must be used.
Miller's comment come amid public debate over police brutality after several videos from the New Year's Day Junction parade made the rounds on social media showing an officer hitting young men with a baton. Miller says civilians challenge police officers every day.
And it's not good, decent citizens like yourselves. It's just a small fraction of people who believe that they can take the law into their own hand. Those ones who just outright believe that you, who go to work and earn an honest living, they should take what belongs to you without having to do it. They take us on every day, and we have me personally, the association have a problem with that.
Miller also supported Police Commissioner Anthony Ferguson, who claimed that poor parenting and dishonesty on the part of family members is to blame for the bad apples on the police force.
My neighbor John Doe is going to apply to customs, immigration, or the police force. In most cases, I can say John Doe is a good person.
Miller added that more must be done to teach young people to do the right thing. Reporting for Our News, I'm Bethany McDermott.
All right, thanks, Bethany. Still to come, Alive talks network resilience. Plus, despite a law change, many drivers still aren't turning left on red. Stay tuned.
Phone is good. Internet is good. TV is good. But why just pick one thing when you can have everything with Tria? Only $99 a month gets you phone, internet, and cable. That's everything you need for $99 a month. Ask for Tria. Call 601-2200 or email residentialsales@cablebahamas.com. Rev, you and us together.
Proper planning is what Chief Alive Officer Damian Blackburn says kept the telecommunications company online during Hurricane Dorian. He addressed members of the business community today during Bahamas Business Outlook 2020.
I cannot underestimate the amount of preparation and planning it takes to plan the communication that you need for your stakeholders, the wider public at large, and your customers before, during, and after these events.
Blackburn gave a detailed presentation on Alive's performance during and after the deadly Category 5 storm ravaged Abaco and Grand Bahama. He said while Alive maintained coverage in Abaco during the storm, over 90% of its 23 sites eventually went offline due to the loss of fiber connectivity, network equipment, and backup power due to flooding.
It's hard to pick out individuals when there's been such great teamwork. But imagine the bravery of the Cable Bahamas engineers who lived in the head end in Abaco, surrounded by this devastation, and the Alive engineers who were located nearby, and similarly in Freeport in Grand Bahama, sleeping where the equipment is located to make sure that when we need to assess the damage, we were right there, ready to go.
Well, months after road traffic laws changed, enabling drivers to make a left turn on red lights, many motorists aren't taking advantage of it. Tonight, Italia Clark speaks with a traffic officer to break down the right way to make a left turn.
Canadian motorists are pretty accustomed to turning right on red while driving in the U.S. But in the 3 months since the new traffic law has made it possible to turn left on red, a majority of drivers are still waiting for the light to turn green.
Some people don't know this, but I know. And I follow it, you see? Because I know many people, they won't turn and they mind they're going this way. But they will tell the light come on green.
Assistant Superintendent of Police Paul Cash explains that this particular regulation is intended to reduce drive time.
That law simply states that vehicles can come to a traffic signal, a traffic light, a red traffic light, and make a left turn.
Now, some say they were not properly informed on this new regulation, but are making necessary adjustments.
I didn't hear the advertisement. I was just turning left because I knew that you could, and I kind of heard it. To tell you the truth, I didn't read anything or heard anything other than just, okay, the law had changed, and so I just started to do it.
How I knew, because I was on the light, and my friend said, you can turn on left, So I don't think they advertised enough.
The road traffic amendments have been in effect since October, and ASP Cash says the transition has been smooth, even though there are some minor details to remember.
Even pedestrians have the right of way before the driver is to make a left turn. So the driver has to, in turn, now look out for even pedestrians before making a left turn at that junction.
Although the law has been implemented since October 2019, allowing motorists to turn left at the red light, what we have discovered is that many are still unsure how to use those regulations. But what is important is a proper education campaign to ensure everyone understands. Reporting for our news, I'm Natalia Clark.
All right, thanks, Natalia. Still to come, Rev kicks off 2020 with several major campaigns. Stay tuned.
Phone is good. Internet is good. TV is good. But why just pick one thing when you can have everything with Trio? Only $99 a month gets you phone, internet, and cable. That's everything you need for $99 a month. Ask for Trio. Call 601-2200 or email residentialsales@cablebahamas.com. Rev, you and us together.
Rev is rolling into 2020 with several major campaigns, including the launch of the 4th installment of its Trio campaign, which now features a free NBA League Pass. Products Director Odette Carey made the announcement during a news conference at Cable Bahamas today.
The great difference in this new Trio bundle is that NBA League Pass is included for free. For free, okay?
Say what?
For free. NBA League Pass is included in the Trio bundle. So if you're a Trio customer, whether you're existing or a new Trio customer, you get to receive NBA League Pass, but you actually have to call in to ask for it.
And that's 40 games per week. This is the most anticipated Christmas campaign we've ever had.
How many games?
40
a week.
40 a week.
Wow.
40. And it's if your team is LA, if your team is Chicago, if you like James Harden, if you like any team, you get to personalize who you want to watch.
Head of Residential Sales, Rory Major, urged interested subscribers to sign up at Rev's Marathon Mall store, contact the call center, or email them at trio@cablebahamas.com. As an incentive, marketing manager Melissa Colberg revealed that 6 Trio subscribers will be chosen to travel to various NBA games throughout the United States, including Chicago, Houston, and LA.
It's an all-expense-paid trip, starting off in Windy City, Chicago. Now, what NBA has shared with us is this is a VIP treatment. So we're talking about the welcome reception, we're talking about luxury box seating and or regular seating, access to pregame shootouts and or practices.
If you're an NBA fan, if you're a basketball fan, it is truly something that is different that you probably never thought you would imagine seeing other than on television. To be a part of that atmosphere, shoulder to shoulder, most cases, a lot of times being able to be within touching distance or shouting distance of some of the guys that you watch on a nightly basis and probably idolize as fans. It's an amazing experience.
And to capitalize on the success of Our TV's Countdown to Christmas, which featured 25 holiday movies during the months of November and December, Rev's Vice President of Media, David Burrows, announced today that Our TV will launch Love Month.
We're going to begin with Love Month and continuing through the entire month of February, where we're going to be playing 10 romantic movies Friday and Saturday nights, plus we will be having repeats. So you will be able to see the Hallmark romantic movies during the month of February on our TV. More Hallmark movies. More Hallmark movies. We will then again bring you in June. We're going to be doing Christmas in June. We